Hello guys, Halo Doctor here. Hope you're doing well. If you're somebody who, like me, tends to play solo queue a lot, then I hope this video will be of some use for you. So we're going to have a range of tips in this video. Tip number 1 is prioritize those power-ups and power weapons. It's really important to work with your team to make sure that you attain the power-ups and power weapons, even if you don't like them, or if you don't like using them, you're not very good with them. It at least keeps it out of the enemy's hands, which is so important because some people are really good with power weapons and power-ups. So make sure that they don't get them and that you do. Tip number 2, and this is a huge one and so important, and it is, if you have a mic, use it. And if you don't have a mic, think about getting a headset that does have one. I don't know about you guys, but it is so helpful for me when there's somebody on my team calling out. Pinging is good using the new ping function. It's great, but call outs are next level. Pings can tell you where people are the moment that they're used, but what they can't tell you is where that person's going, what they're doing, what weapon they've got, what equipment they've got, and that's what you can do with comms. With comms, you can give information like that player, the player who killed me has got sword and camo, stay away from batteries, or C, whatever, you get the picture. Simple information like I'm with you, I'm behind you, we can bait and switch is also super useful. And encompassed in the user mic tip is learn the map callouts. Super helpful when you're on mic, when you can hear someone speaking on mic, but also helps you to understand how best to circumnavigate the map as well. A couple of tips to help you learn the callouts are go into pro players' streams, listen to what callouts they use, but also when you're running around the map, normally, not in theater mode like this, there's the name of locations in the bottom left. So have a look at those in-game or when you're just running around in training or in customs. What's really important with callouts as well is to not clutter the callouts. Don't insult people in callouts, don't be toxic in callouts. Just nice, clear, simple callouts, not confusing, with the goal of being helpful and concise. If you don't have a mic, however, and you won't be able to afford one for a while, then use the new pinging system, which brings us on to the next tip. Use that ping. I'm trying to get into the habit of pinging a fraction of a second before I shoot somebody, the moment I see them, or between BR bursts, or when I'm reloading. Second to calling out, it is so damn useful. So please be using that ping, people. If you haven't got a headset, it is the next best way of communicating with your team and trying to get that dub. Next tip is learning to play in and around your team. Guys, Halo Infinite is a game in which teamwork is absolutely essential. In the previous Halo title, Halo 5 Guardians, you might have got away with running off like a lone wolf because you had such good mechanics, but in Halo Infinite, the mechanical skill gap is not quite as high, and you need to learn the skill gap is to do with how you play the game and how you play around your team. It's absolutely essential. So how can you learn to play around a team better as a solo player? Well, one way to force teamwork is to, generally speaking, play behind players and support them in their pushes. Even if they are making terrible plays, stick with them, support them. One of the best bits of advice I heard from a Halo Pro once was it's better to stay with your team than make the perfect play. Staying with your team is the perfect play. Oh, deep, don't forget that. You want to absolutely make sure you are playing behind your teammate when they have got rockets. Because what you can do is you can make sure that if they die or get cleaned up, you can just hop on in like a little pigeon and grab those spare rockets and remain a thorn in the enemy's side. Which brings me on to my next tip actually, which is to protect players on your team who have power weapons. So as I just mentioned, push behind rocket players, but also push in front of sniper players. Roughly speaking, in front to the side. When someone on your team has a sniper, don't force them to push forward solo. Make sure you're pushing ahead of them so that they can clean people up, so that they can blame people who poke their heads out. It might even be worthwhile for you following around players on your team who have got the Bulldog or the Mangler or the Heatwave, guns like that. Guns that you do not want to fall into the enemy's hands. The next 2 tips are all about map control, which is absolutely vital in objective game types. So firstly, take and hold good positions on the map. What do I mean when I say good positions? Good positions are usually positions that are high up where you've got great sight lines on the map. All the better if there's some cover you can easily pop into as well, but we'll come to that later. For example, on recharge, positions like top A plat, top control room, top gold by glass. Those are some power positions on the map. You've got great sight lines. You can see people in batteries, pit, and turbine all really easily, which means you can get tons of damage down. One of the mistakes that a lot of players who are new to the game make is they drop down and they chase kills. Guys, so many times I've thought, oh, I'll chase this kill, this one will work out. And no, just stick to your good position. Obviously, make sure you're in and around your team. If your team die all around you, you probably want to play a little bit more passive than stick your head out in the open in a good position. You're just going to get naded or collapsed on. But generally speaking, hold good positions when you're playing solo. You can keep an eye on your team's spawns and an eye on the enemy's spawns, which brings us on to the next tip, understanding how the spawns work. So I'm going to bring up a little map here, which is helpful to teach you about the spawns. And essentially, if your team are on one side of the map, the enemy team are going to be spawning on the opposite side of the map. Halo Infinite is not as strict about this though as other Halos were before it. So what it will try and do is it will try and spawn you a bit nearer to your team. And that goes for you and the opposition. I explain spawns a little bit more deeply in one of my videos, how to win oddball more consistently, which is in the top right in a card right now. So if you want to learn more, you can check that out. One of the keys though to being aware of spawns is being absolutely aware of the kill feed at all times and aware of who on your team is dead. Keeping an eye on these things will help you to know when you want to be aggressive and when you want to play a little bit more passive. Obviously, if there's 4 of your team alive and only 2 of the enemy alive still, you can all collapse in and play really aggressively. However, if there's only 2 or 3 of you and 4 of the enemy, you don't want to be going charging in, potentially getting absolutely melted by 4 players at a time. So my final tip for you solo queuing weirdos out there is to understand how to use cover to your advantage. It's very easy in gunfights to get too far out into the open and to position yourself somewhere in which you don't have a good escape route. So when you do try to initiate gunfights, make sure that you're staying close to cover, that you can quickly duck back into cover and be out of that gunfight and potentially escape if you need to in as many instances as possible. If you are watching the gameplay in the background closely, you will see that whenever I broke any of the rules that I dictate to you guys in this video, I pretty much died. Guys, if you liked this video and thought it was helpful, please check out the improvement playlist I've got in the top left. If movement, however, is your downfall, check out the map movement playlist in the bottom left. Either way, thank you so much for watching. Please like, and if you've seen a few of my videos now, please subscribe, and I hope you have a fantastic day. We'll see you in the next one.